everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. We have just landed in Milan, Italy. It's 1:15 in the afternoon, and Betty couldn't even wait for a minute to get us onto the bus and get us going into town, right, Betty?
No, don't you make fun of me.
Oh,
That's
no, I'm not.
something I have to do. We have to give directions as to know where we're going to go. After all, I myself didn't really know. I had to find out first and then tell the rest of them what to do.
Right.
But it's quite a unique experience for a layperson to be able to give directions to their bishop.
Well, I'll tell you, you did a fantastic job with that, believe me. It's a difficult thing. Everybody says, oh, Betty, what a great job you've got.
Oh, yeah,
just travel around, do all this stuff. Boy, people really knew all the work that went to it. Hey, I like this. SOS. How about that? You can stop on the side of the road, and that's where if your car's in trouble or whatever, you pick up the telephone and call the folks.
Call. I like the idea better, though. SOS, save our souls. If you have a little difficulty, you can stop there and pray to the Lord.
You might have to do that on some of these autostradas. So. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, this was really kind of a stopover for us because we're on our way to the Holy Land and also to Rome. And here we have landed way up in the northern part of Italy in Milan, which is an absolutely beautiful place. I had never been here before. Milan rather, started as a city called Mediolanum. It was a Gaelic town, and it was taken by the Romans in the year 222 BC. It was burned a number of times, once by the Huns, twice by the Goths, and again by the German Frederick Barbarossa in 1162.
Wow.
How about that? You want some more statistics? I've got a lot more.
I'm really impressed, Mark.
Oh, well, listen. Hey, listen. Milan was, it was a powerful city-state, and then there were a bunch of various people that took over, including the Spanish took it over at one time, and they held it until 1706, and then it fell to Austria and was governed by Napoleon when he created the short-lived Kingdom of Italy, and he made Milan the capital. But after Napoleon's fall, Milan then went back to Austria, and then in 1859, it was included in the new United Kingdom of Italy. How about that?
I think that is impressive. As a little background for all this movement into Milan for us, we had a layover and decided that it might be a real treat for our people, rather than stay at the airport, to go on into Milan and see what we could see. So this was just an added bonus for all of those that took this trip with us. And I think that they were most impressed, even though the airport was quite a ways out and we didn't get to see as much because we did have to come back and catch
take a plane again, right? Yeah.
Yes.
But
that's it.
That's great. And the population's a little over 1.5 million people in Milan. And I didn't realize, but during World War II, 60% of Milan was totally destroyed. And Milan, of course, is the chief industrial and financial and commercial center of Italy. But in 10 years' time, the energetic people of Milan rebuilt the city and made it better and bigger than ever before. Oh, this is beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, the opera house here, La Scala.
I couldn't believe the difference, Marv. I was here maybe 25 years ago with my husband, and to me it was just an industrial town. There was no beauty.
It is now, though. Hey, let's listen to our guide, Betty, as she gives us a tour.
Okay.
You are now in La Scala Opera House Square, and La Scala Opera House is that building.
The one that they are working on?
Yeah. You can see that picture, the real aspect of La Scala building will be ready. They are cleaning, they're restoring the front, only the front. Will be ready the next December, the 7th of December. It's a St. Ambrose Day, so very important day in Milan. The patron saint of Milan, St. Ambrose. And it's also the inauguration day of the opera season. This year we'll have Fidelio by Beethoven. The conductor is Riccardo Muti. We can say we are very proud of Riccardo Muti, the best. Around you, La Scala Square with a beautiful 1550 building, the town hall. Palazzo Marino. It was built in 1550 by an Italian architect, Galeazzo Alessi, by Perugia, from Perugia. the middle of the square, you can see the monument to Leonardo da Vinci, the famous Leonardo, the painter, genius, engineer, an inventor.
The statue on the top is...
Yes, this big man. And with 4 men around him, they are his pupils, 4 pupils. They worked with him in Milano.
Well, Betty, finally we have arrived at last in the cathedral. And they said, don't call it a cathedral, call it the Duomo of Milan. And I have to say, this is a very, very impressive building from the outside and the inside.
My neck was sore.
Why?
Looking up, looking up, looking up. There is
At the statuary there? Yeah.
much to see.
Try it with a camera.
Yeah, well, I did. I felt so sorry for you.
Nah, it was
and
wonderful.
but see if I put it on air, then everybody will feel sorry for you, too.
Okay. Listen, I've got to tell you that this is the most extraordinary example of Italian late Gothic architecture. And not only that, but this is the 3rd Catholic church in the world by size. The highest spire on the outside reaches 108.5 meters, and the spire which supports the statue of the Madonna is covered with 3,900 laminates of gold. How about that? That's
What's a
kinda neat.
laminate?
When you put the gold leaf on, you overlay.
You call
this-
that a laminate.
I don't call it that. The Italians call it that.
Okay.
That's what they told me. I don't.
Well, I believe it. I believe
Okay.
it. But I just wasn't. I wanted you. You just so smart. I have to have you clarify. all
Oh,
these
thank you
things
so
for
much.
me.
Hey, listen, these stained glass windows were absolutely incredible. They
they're
were
beautiful.
just so brilliant and so bright. They were really incredible.
We always say this, but we never have enough time.
I
you
know.
And of course, this was just like I said, was an extra treat. So,
And Betty,
go ahead.
they were also bringing out those paintings which they had stored, and those were going on display for a while here in the Duomo, or the cathedral. Now, you got to explain to me about this.
Well,
What is this hanging up here?
This is very unusual. This is, as I understand it, up above on the very, very high top, there is the true relic of the cross, a relic of the nail that pierced Jesus' flesh, and let's see, the nail and the thorn from the crown on his head.
Mm-hmm.
And once a year, the celebrant gets into this little what do you call it?
I don't know, but it's
Whatever.
lifted up,
You get
though,
in
right?
that, and it goes up to the top. Up there in the top is where
you see the red.
Where the red is.
Mhm.
These are where the relics are. And he goes up on this little deal, big, and celebrates Mass. And it's once a year.
That's really got to be something to
And
see.
yeah, but see, it's so far up that you don't get the full impact of it. You need to bring
Mm-hmm.
binoculars.
You know, that sounds funny, but it's really true
There,
what you
now we
say. And
tried
thank
to
goodness
help.
we had,
You
a
did a good
telephoto
job.
lens
Yes,
on
yeah.
here so that we really could actually see this.
But if it wasn't explained,
Beautiful.
you would not quite understand it.
Right.
But it is, it's so impressive.
it is, it's really awesome when you think of, I mean, to have those particular relics here in this cathedral. That's something. The floor, Betty, was also look at the design on the floor. Absolutely incredible.
Think
Just
of the
incredible.
workmanship, how long it took to
And
do
there
that. Now
you-
there's the thing that impresses me.
Outside of the building.
Just driving up with the bus and all the gargoyles and all the,
Mm-hmm.
it's tremendous. It's tremendous.
Really, really is. And this was just right off the square here of the of this Galleria. Now, the Galleria, which we're going through now, I should explain that there was going to be a big soccer match here in Milan, and the teams were already, or I should say the supporters of the teams were
Yeah.
already celebrating.
They go crazy. Of course, they're a great soccer country.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and they just go bananas. We had
It was
more fun.
wonderful. It was great. But I wanted you to see what the top of this was looking like. I mean, this is almost like a cathedral itself. And this is a shopping area. I mean, absolutely great. And I have read that, I don't know if it's here in Milan, but in some of the places that you can there are apartments that are up there on those top floors, over the shops. Wouldn't it be a
Great.
great place to live?
Now, Marv, I just had a thought. When we went to Russia that time and we went into gum,
Mm-hmm. The department
isn't
store.
that the way this all of
Somewhat
that
like
was?
that, yeah.
Something very
But I think this
similar.
is much classier.
Oh,
than
it is.
that. Yeah.
Well, that was a
much
long
more
time
beautiful.
ago, too. But
Now, there's some of the supporters for
but
the soccer
you ain't
team. right
heard
there.
nothing yet. They were the noisiest. bunch
Oh,
of
they were having a great time.
enthusiastic
They
people.
were. And this is wonderful. I just love this, people eating sort of in the outside, inside, and outside, and people shopping. And, of course, as you can see everywhere, people on their cellular phones. So it's really something. But the skylights up here were something. And I'm not quite sure when this was built, but I'll tell you, this is a fabulous looking building. Absolutely fabulous building.
It's a delight to go into with all the lights, and then they had the shops, and they
Yeah.
had the little pubs.
Did you
and they had,
price anything in those stores and
no, I
those
didn't
shops?
have time, but those are all beyond my means. After all, these are all the couturier places, and
Well, don't you like to shop in that type of atmosphere?
I don't like to shop there, but I sure do like to look.
Well, that must be
That's just as
that's
much
part of
fun.
shopping, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's fun.
Anyway, it was wonderful that we had this opportunity to come to Milan, and as Betty said, it was a stopover for us because we were going to change planes here, and we'd been on a plane all the way from the United States to Italy, and we're heading on down to the Holy Land. But here's another shot of La Scala, and this is
That's the opera house.
going to be beautiful. But you're going to see this all over Italy. In fact, everywhere we went, places were under reconstruction, places were being cleaned up, the buildings were absolutely fantastic. I'm telling you, they're all getting ready for the year 2000, of course, for the millennium, and everything's going to be quite spick and span, I think.
This is all picture postcard, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Every shot that you're looking at right now could be a postcard. And I think that's the way Marv did it. He just wants you to think that he used the camera and worked hard. No, huh?
I don't know. I still got a little backache from that. But anyway, it's all worth it. It was a beautiful visit to Milan, and I certainly hope to go back there again sometime and spend some more time. This was just sort of a little treat for us to get to Milan, and really wonderful. So I would invite everybody, if you have a chance, to visit Milan.
E non ti sfoggi a riguardare, a riguardare. Che bella cosa è una giornata sole, un'aria serena dopo una tempesta, quell'aria fresca pare già una festa. Che bella cosa è una giornata sola, ma fa notte io sole se ne scende, ma bene quasi una malinconia sotto benesta a restare quando fa notte io sole se ne scende.
Well, Betty, here we are the next morning, and of course we are now in the Holy Land. We're here in Netanya, and this is a beautiful place. I mean, we're right on the Mediterranean Ocean. Oh,
We
I thought it was
could
gorgeous.
hear the water at night from our room, Father. I was going to call you Father.
You were with too many priests on this trip,
I was
right?
on Father, but we go, whoosh. You know how the waves kind of go up
Mm-hmm.
against the shore? It was nice. It was very elegant place.
We should explain for people that have not been to this part of the Holy Land. Netanya is sort of a vacation and recreation town. A lot of people are living here full time, and it's located north of the city of Tel Aviv, and that's our hotel right there. Very beautiful hotel that we stayed in, and we got up early, took a little walk, and before breakfast, of course. But some of the people were down there just ready for the doors to open, and golly gee whiz, it was our group, wasn't it, Betty?
Yeah, but you know what happens. It's the clock in your body because our time frame is gone. So we were ready to get moving, and we hadn't had much sleep. But, you know, we're always hungry, always ready
Seemed to
for
be.
the next bite.
And they had
Yeah.
beautiful.
Hi, Maria.
They had beautiful breakfast for us that morning as well. And like in most traveling places, you have sort of a buffet type of breakfast, and there's all sorts of wonderful, good things to eat. And for some people, some new things to eat that they have not experienced before, especially if they haven't traveled to this part of the world. And I think everyone was well satisfied with with what they were eating because
I'm happy as long as they have some cereal and some fruit for me and stuff. You know, I don't go for all that fish and all stuff like rice and stuff for breakfast.
You're not for that
okay
for
later
breakfast, huh?
on, but not for
Okay,
breakfast.
anyway.
But I do like yogurt, so
Yeah,
that's
well, good.
yeah,
Well,
so
there was a lot to eat.
lot to eat.
And you can see here too. This is looking south from the hotel room in Netanya,
wow.
and isn't that beautiful? The Mediterranean was absolutely gorgeous this hour of the morning. It was very, very, very nice, and we were just about ready to get started. But there are a lot of people that were out swimming. Can you believe that at this hour of the morning? I was surprised. We went for a walk, and there they were, some people already swimming early in the morning, so it was kind of nice. Of course, the weather is very much like it is here.
Very mild.
In that part of the world, too, so it's great. So anyway, we are going to start our tour with our guide, and we're going to drive along south for a little bit, and then we're finally going to get on the freeway, which is a brand new freeway, and head north. And actually, our destination was going to be, or is going to be, I should say, Haifa. But before we get to Haifa, we're going to make a stop in Caesarea.
A Roman centurion by the name of Cornelius, and he is introduced to us in the Bible as someone who feared God and his family, had a vision about seeking someone by the name of Simon Peter to come to Caesarea for the purpose of salvation. It wasn't even mentioned as baptism yet.
So, Betty, the important thing on this was that this was the first Gentile that was baptized or
Well,
brought into the faith, right?
Yeah, but the thing, as I understand it, just from my readings, that when Peter had a dream, they didn't talk about here, and in the dream there were all different kinds of animals in a basket that came down. And that was his introduction to the fact that other people other than Jews would be accepted, that Gentiles were welcome, and they did not have to observe the fasting.
The old Jewish law.
Yeah, the old Jewish law. So this was, to me, such a great precedent-setting thing, opening the doors to everyone.
Oh, that's great.
And I love that story. So for our viewers, that when they read this gospel story, I don't remember what it was. It must have been an epistle. But be sure and pay attention, because you heard it here.
You're right.
I mean, you saw it here.
I want to say, first of all, a few words about Caesarea. The city was started not as a city. It was just a small, little deserted village by the sea, by the water, back in the 3rd century before Christ. And then when it was started as a Sidonian village. Sidonians is in reference to Sida in Lebanon of today. So Sidonians are the Lebanese of today. Shortly after, another group took over, and they're called the Phoenicians. They're probably more familiar name to you. Phoenicians are also Lebanese of today. It was a small village, fishing village by the Mediterranean that was used by the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians, by the way, the word Phoenicia means color. Colors. The colors that we used are invented by the Phoenicians. So the Phoenicians came and settled here for a while. Shortly after, it wasn't really a group that came and took over, but the whole area became under the occupation of the Roman Empire. And of course, part of that occupation is that village which I'm talking about by the Mediterranean. Back then it was not yet Caesarea. The name was, if you want, was Straton's Tower. That was the name. Straton is a pagan god. So it was Straton's Tower, the name of the that little village. And then shortly after the establishment of the Roman Empire occupation over this part of the world, we start hearing about the famous, well-known character, Herod the Great. Now, Herod the Great, folks, when he was appointed as a king, you see, in order to understand, the Roman Empire was a huge empire. It was divided into kingdoms, and over each kingdom, the Romans appointed a king, and he was loyal to the headquarters, which was what? Rome. Okay? So Herod the Great started to serve as a king under the Roman Empire at the time when the Caesar, you know, there were all many kings, but there was only one Caesar. The Caesar was Augustus in Rome, and Herod the Great built the city. He had a vision that this is going to be a very important city, a port city, because of the natural bay that it has in it. And he decided to invest a lot of money. Between 25 BC and 13 BC, he invested tons of money in the building of this city. Only then it started to be a city, and the name was Caesarea. Why Caesarea? In reference or in honor of the Caesar in Rome. That was the idea. In order to go forward without wasting too much time on the history, although it might be interesting for some, I would say Josephus, who is a Jewish historian, have you heard the name? Joseph Flavius, sometimes he's referred to, writes in his book, The Wars of the Jews, he says about Caesarea like this, and I'm quoting from his book: Caesarea was a huge city surrounded with a wall from three sides, the north, the east, and the south. There was no need for one from the west because you have the Mediterranean. That's enough of a fortification in itself. And he adds and says, on top of the wall, Herod the Great placed 14 huge statues. We looked for them. We couldn't find but the 1 foot that you see right there.
That's what's up, huh?
Most likely that this is a statue that was right at the gate of Caesarea. Why is it so? Because here in the Middle East, if somebody invites you home, make sure you step into his house with the right foot, not the wrong foot. Okay? Most likely that this was right at the entrance of the city Caesarea. Caesarea at the time of Herod the Great prospered greatly due to the fact that Herod the Great built the first port in Caesarea. There were other ports in Israel, or in that part of the country back then, which is Jaffa, that I was telling you about. That was a major seaport. Another major port is what you know of today as Gaza Strip. That was a very major port back then. But Herod the Great was interested in bringing business here. So look, what did he do? He blocked all the other ports, and he made the caravans come up here. What kind of trading are we talking about? Something which Europe needed so bad. Perfume and spices.
And of course, those were things that were very, very important at that period of time. Betty, this is the outside of the amphitheater. We're going to go in just a moment. And we have been there a few times before. In fact, I remember once, the acoustics are so great in here. The Romans were masterful builders. I mean, how they were able to make the stage there, and, you know, I mean, they didn't have amplification, but it was a natural amplification. I remember one year you stood out there and you sang Star Spangled Banner, and there was a French group over there, and as soon as they applauded you, they all stood up and sang Le Marseillaise. I mean, it was wonderful.
It was fun. It was fun. But we got usurped on this one.
Yeah. Oh, in fact,
They
yeah.
stole our show.
Let's listen to him for just a moment, shall we? And you see, the interesting thing here is, of course, that there is no amplification at all. It just has a natural sound to it. And this was the stage. This would have been the stage where the performers would have been on. And Betty, what really has surprised me here, too, is that there is more and more excavation that is going on. I mean, since the last time that I was there, they're going to have this whole city redone.
Well, when you sit up there, I call them the bleachers, and you look out at the Mediterranean Sea, and you can visualize the pageantry that went on, because it was all the actors doing their performances. But I loved it when he said about vomit. Remember what vomit is? To empty. They were sitting there for 5 hours, and half the time didn't want to be there to listen to what they had to listen to. So they exited real fast, and the exits were called vomitaries. They were vomiting them out of the.
Doesn't sound too appetizing, does it?
But that's the word. I mean, I'm just
okay.
using
No.
it. Okay.
I don't disagree with you. Okay,
The exits were vomitaries.
Okay.
But
You
there's
learned it here, folks. First on the Adventure Travel Club television show.
no extra charge
No.
for that information. But those gals were great, and you're very careful. You see how
Those steps are very steep.
are very steep, and you watch your step.
Well, Betty, it's just about time for us to go. We'll join ourselves back here at Caesarea on our next show. But before we do go, I think we better give everybody your telephone number in case they're interested in the trips we have coming up.
Yes, because we are going to do a repeat of this one. And my telephone number is 488-7443.
So if you're interested in this trip, again, as Betty says, she's going to have a repeat in May, or any of our other trips, please give Betty a call. That's about all the time that we have. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.